Today we're test driving Volkswagen's first car with a 16-valve engine, the Scirocco II. VW released the second generation of the successful sports coupé in March 1981. Named after a hot Sahara wind, the new Scirocco boasted exclusive design and reliable mass production technology. Our car tester Christoph Bauer admits he has ambivalent feelings about the Scirocco II. After all, it's synonymous with the 80s, that notorious era of ill-advised taste. Think shoulder pads, baggy jeans, net tops, and sugar-sweet German pop. The car fit right into the disco age, even though it boasted an illustrious lineage. The Scirocco's predecessor was the VW Carmen Ghia. It combined the chassis and technology of the Beetle with styling by the Italian designer Luigi Segre. The first Scirocco came out in 1974. VW supplied the mechanics, while the design was the work of Giorgetto Giugiaro, who had also penned the Golf. For the second generation, Volkswagen took charge of the design itself. Christoph recalls the slogan "excitingly sensible" used to advertise the Scirocco II. It sounds contradictory, but it hits the nail on the head. This was a family-friendly car. It had 4 seats, the interior was more spacious than its predecessors, and on top of that, it was fuel-thrifty because of its sporty aerodynamic body. That covers the sensible part, but with just 112 horsepower, it was hardly exciting. That only changed in 1985 with the introduction of this model, the GTX, and its exciting 139 horsepower. The improved performance was a reaction to slow initial sales that lagged behind the model's predecessor. VW urgently needed to win over a younger clientele. The 16-valve engine goes from 0 to 100 in just 8.1 seconds. This acceleration performance doesn't stop till 208 kilometers per hour. Those are respectable values. And to ensure that it stops with as much precision, the car was equipped with disc brakes on all 4 wheels. Christoph points out that the GTX 16V's body also took its cue from sports cars and was initially equipped with one of the most popular accessories of the time, the X1 all-round spoiler set from Karl May. Later, the parts were supplied by VW, like here. The rear spoiler pressed the car firmly onto the road. It was made of rubber, typically enough for the 1980s. In comparison with the angular first generation of Sciroccos, the second generation seems much more grown up. The gently rounded edges reduce air resistance and thus fuel consumption. The chassis is now 20 centimeters longer, increasing space inside. Well-shaped sports seats add a bit of pizzazz to the otherwise sober interior. Christoph points out the letters DOHC 16V, which stands for double overhead cam. 2 overhead camshafts and 16 valves, 2 intake and 2 exhaust valves on each cylinder. This technology squeezes all of 139 horsepower from the 1.8-liter engine, 27 horsepower more than with the 8-valve engine. VW first unveiled the 16-valve technology at the IAA in 1983, and in 1985, in the Scirocco II, Volkswagen's first 16-valve engine was in the dealerships. Despite its front-wheel drive, the Scirocco offers plenty of driving fun. Its 16-valve engine can even challenge a Porsche 924. Christoph says he has never driven a Scirocco II before, but still feels immediately at home in it. All the controls and buttons are right where you'd expect them, so you don't need to study a thick instruction manual. And that makes the Scirocco II likable, as far as Christoph is concerned. But it never became a bestseller. In 11 years of production, only 300,000 were manufactured. The first generation of Scirocco saw 500,000 produced in just 7 years. Our car tester sums up, the Scirocco II is practical, robust, reliable, and with the 16-valve engine, sporty too. And judged by the aesthetic standards of the 80s, maybe it's pretty, or at least up to date. Nonetheless, it never sold like it was expected to, and eventually another VW product put it out of its misery, the Corrado. The Corrado began rolling off the assembly line in 1988 and was simply more powerful and more modern. So, production of the Scirocco II ceased in 1992, but not before its 16-valve engine made it a milestone in automotive history. The Scirocco II set the standard of 4 valves per cylinder across the industry, and the Scirocco's name hasn't been forgotten. In 2008, VW began building the third generation of the sports coupe.